Hi guys, in 9 minutes time I'm gonna be showing you how to make some goth type clothing out of polymer clay. I'm gonna be dressing the woman that I've been making previous videos. Okay, see you then. Bye. Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Carly from Carly's Creative Clay. Today I plan to carry on with the woman that I was making. I'm at the point where I can start putting clothes on her. So we'll get onto that in one moment. I always start out by showing something that's in my shop. So this time it's a dragon trinket box, and it's one of my earlier dragons. Hi Arty Life. In this, can you see the crystal ball it's holding is a large cat's eye ball, and I found them on eBay and I'm absolutely in love with them. I didn't get tons, but I think I know where to re-get them, assuming they still sell them. It's got red crystal eyes. There you go, you get a better look at that. And a large crystal in its forehead that's also red. And you can see by the face shape of it that it is one of my earlier pieces. This is how I started out my dragon making, but I'm still really pleased with it. This is the box. Hi fairy hedgehogs. Thank you. The box base that it goes onto, and this is a £35 piece. This is the base and all around the sides, and as you'll see underneath there is a raised heart in a sort of with a little Celtic knot, and that fits inside the raised up bit very nicely, and it sits quite snug. £35. There is literally one of them. I don't tend to remake things exactly the same, so when it's gone, it's gone. And on this one I was really pleased with the claw placement, so I'll just show you that quickly before I go. Can you see they're very cute claws on it? Right, so put it to one side. Now I've been thinking that I want to run my first course in Your Space Sutton, and I'm thinking it's going to be that kind of dragon that I teach as my first proper lesson. And Arty Life came up with a really good idea. Thank you. They're actually really not. It's just making sure you get them actually in place once you made them. That's a tricky bit. Thank you. Arty Life came up with the idea of making a dragon pendant, so doing my swirly clay as a base and then putting a dragon flat to the side. And I thought to include men who wouldn't necessarily want it as a pendant, all they'd need to do is, instead of putting it side on, you put it so that it's sitting on that round and then it's a little statue. So either way it would work out brilliantly well. So I think that's what I'm going to start developing after Christmas. One last point of information and then I'll actually get onto some clay, and I promise. Next Wednesday is Christmas Day, and I really love you all, and I really love streaming. I don't think I'm going to be doing this Christmas Day. I think I've got a whole lot of other stuff to do that day. So hopefully we'll be back on the 1st, assuming that I haven't landed myself bedridden by knackering myself out, which is always a possibility in December because it's my busiest month of the entire year. So quick drink. Right, this is where we got to on the woman. So as you see, I've now got her eye level, which was a whole lot of effort all in itself. She's baked up at this point, so hard plastic. So now I think the next stage will be to dress her. I'm aware she's got no hands, she's got no hair. That is fine. It's easier to get the clothing in. You'd be amazed, Fairy Hedgehog. People stream on Christmas Day, they stream on their birthdays, their anniversaries. There are quite a lot of streamers who are really very, very, very dedicated. Mainly computer gamers, actually, because they're playing their computer games anyway, so they might as well press record and build their stream up. So yeah, the reason why I'm doing her clothes at this stage is the hands I'm going to use to join on to the rest of the model. That's why there's so much extra wire going on there. So I need to do those as one of the last things in order to attach her to the rest of it. If you do your hair before you do the clothes, you will find that it's hard to get the hair to lay over the shoulders properly and still get your top in. I mean, you can technically cut the clay so that there isn't anything, so it's sort of butting right up against where the hair lays. So if you've done your hair and then think, oh, now I've got to put a top on, it's not completely trashed. You can still do it. It's just far more tricky. So clothes is a good thing at this stage. I'm gonna go for gold and black for her, I think. So I've already conditioned out some black and I've rolled it so that it's in a block that will fit my pasta machine. And can you see I pinched the edge? You can either pinch it or you can lay it down and just get your rolling pin and do that. It's so that it feeds evenly into the pasta machine. Otherwise you have the risk that it's going to catch part of it and start to pull that down before it really catches onto the rest of it, so you end up with an uneven, and that's fine. It just is easier to use a rectangular sheet of clay. I'll go into why for clothing I really think you should be using your pasta machine rather than a rolling pin when I get to that stage. First off, I want to do a swirly patterned gold panel to the top and some gold edging. So what I've done is, this is the standard gold, the top strand there. The next one down is half copper and half gold mixed together, so you end up with this rose gold colour, and copper is a significantly darker rust colour than what this is. On this stick it's gold, and then I've done 3/4 gold and 1/4 black mixed together, and you end up with that. And you can always adjust it to shades that you like. I'm gonna just do my swirly clay that I always do. So you're holding on to one end and twisting the other. Doesn't matter if it breaks or if bits go crumbly, that's fine. Just make sure you got that tight twist all the way to the ends. Like that. So I'll be really quick at this because I know I've shown you all before. I hope you've all had a great week. I had a lot of fun. I was selling at Your Space Sutton's Christmas fair. I was signed up to do the Saturday and the Sunday, and I was just too ill, so I ended up just doing the Sunday, and I really, really loved it. And also, something that was really, really sweet, I have a box of charms and little bits like that that were never in my shop, or they were end of line things, and I take them with me to fairs. And if I see someone that I think I want to give something to for free, I've got something there as an option. And at the very first Christmas fair I did at Your Space, there was this really lovely little girl who had her own store and was making things for it, and we got chatting and she was very, very nice to me, so I gave her a freebie. Well, this time she came up to me, she said, "Oh, I saw that you were selling here, so I made you this." She made me a little felt flower. I think that's really, really sweet, so I'm keeping that next to my desk. So yeah, I got a return. I never give stuff with a return in mind, but that actually happened. So as you see, I've been twisting it and folding it on itself until it's in a ball. Then I'm going to bring it back out into a stick and swirl it on itself again. So twist it on itself again. So oh yeah. I replied to that about there are people. Sorry, Jamie was just telling me what Fairy Hedgehog said a while ago. We're all a bit sleepy because I've been doing far too much this month, and everyone's been supporting me, and my husband has the same condition as me, chronic fatigue syndrome, so we're both knackered. Right. If you saw, I was holding one end and pushing along the desk to get this tight spiral. And now I'm folding it on itself and pushing it together and twisting it on itself.
Auntie Life says she is a lovely girl. She bought painting from me the first time I had a stall there.
Oh, that's really nice. It is a lovely place. I can see him ending up with a lot of sellers. He's going to have to extend the space somehow, because it seems every couple of fairs there's another new person that wants to have a stall, and no one wants to not have a stall once they've been there because it's lovely.
I love the subtlety of that colour combo.
Yeah, I really do love mixing golds into a swirly pattern, and it reminds me a lot of the old samurai swords with their Mikumigane, which is a metal smithing technique that we actually use a similar technique in polymer clay, and I have showed it on previous videos if you want to have a look. But when the old swordsmiths were making samurai swords, it's that technique they used on the really, really good ones, and they often did them in shades of gold, so it kind of ends up looking very, very similar. Right, so I got it down to that very sort of tight. Can you see? It's a very, very thin lines to my swirls. I think that's about as good as I'm gonna get, and I'm not gonna bring it down any tighter than that. Now, you can use it just rolled out like this with the lines all in it, but I like to use the inside because it has a completely different pattern, which I'll show you. So if you see, I'm just forming it into a cube, rectangle, something where you got some flat sides.
Auntie Life is gorgeous.
Thank you. And I'm going to cut all the outsides off like this, and I am going to turn them around so that when I put them back against the clay block, the design on the inside, as you can see, the design on the inside, just focusing, yeah,
it's very tight. It's
very tight, but I'm about to put it through a pasta machine. Is very different to the design on the outside, so you want to have that swirly stuff from the inside facing outwards, and just push it back on your cube. Now, on small amounts of clay, I usually don't go this tight on my swirls unless I'm making it to simulate animal hair, but where I'm going to put this through a pasta machine, that will bring it back out. Now, so it will be a looser one. So if I started out with a looser one, you'll end up with a very, very sort of loose camo print design. So it's all stuck back on. Looks scruffy, but we can roll that out into a ball and get rid of all those join lines. Now, the reason why I'm saying to use a pasta machine with your clothing is you're going to get the clay a completely uniform thickness that is actually quite thin. When you try to go very thin with a rolling pin, it's easy to not get it so that it's completely even, and it's hard to bring it back off the board unless you use greaseproof paper. I just find trying to do it with a rolling pin is a bit of a headache. So if you've got a pasta machine, this is going to be one of those times where I really think it's worth digging it out and using it. But this is that gold with all the join lines smoothed out. You see why I like to use those 3 shades of gold. I think it would work just making marbles like that. I mean, I could sit there all day. Right, so we've got the gold colour, we've got the black. So we're going to get my pasta machine and start to make this thin. Right, now you can either start to smudge that out flat, which will start to bring out that very tight swirl, or what I like to do, because the pasta machine's going to bring it out quickly enough, I cut it in half and I do it in 2. So I'm just bringing it so it's kind of flat. Can you see I'm pinching it into a disc, and I'm going to make one edge flat enough to feed into the machine and pinch that bottom edge that I'm going to feed in so that it's easier. Now you want to go as thin as you can handle the clay easily. I always find I get in a mess when I go to the thinnest notch possible on my pasta machine. It's so thin it folds on itself, and once it touches itself it tears and all that sort of madness.
That's such a pretty gold swirl.
Thank you. So I'm going 1 notch thicker than the thinnest setting, and I've got it in the middle, and I'm going to roll it through like that. Now this is where we're at. See how it's brought the tightness right back out again. So if I started with something this loose, it really would have just looked like smudges. So I'm putting that to one side on a bit of baking paper so it's easy to move around, and I'm going to do the same again for the other half.
With your pasta machine having that gold colour stuck to it, does it need cleaning at this stage, or is it okay to
Right.
use it?
Did you hear what Jamie said? You might have to come closer to the microphone. Right, Jamie said, would I need to clean my pasta machine between the gold and the black? Not really. If you are going from the lighter colour to the darker colour, you're less likely to need to clean your pasta machine. Do watch that you haven't got the clay concertina in underneath. If it starts to fold, just so it will fold, can you see, sort of folding like that on the drop. Just come underneath and flick it so that the clay's laying like that. So as the rest of it feeds through, it falls flat rather than like that folded. Whoops, rather than like this folded on itself. You can pull it apart, but it is just annoying. So I've got 2 sheets of gold. If you do a light colour before you do a dark colour, you're less likely to have a problem. Dark colours always show up more on light, but you can just get a bit of kitchen roll, and where I've got it in the middle, it's always harder to clean right up at these edges. I know some people put like little magnets or balls, like glass marbles, to stop the clay from getting right up into the corners there, but I haven't got that far, so I'm just gonna roll a bit of kitchen roll through, and that usually is enough between colours if you're worried. I mean, you can do a full clean. You can see there's still a bit of a mark on there. It really won't show. So my black, that's going very, very close up to the edge, but can you see it's still not right into those corners? But I might save myself the work later and just shrink it that way. So what I'm doing, let's go onto under the camera. I'm just pushing on the side. Whoop. Use the glass to keep it from bowing. Can you see I've shrunk its width? So now it's, how have I got cat hair? It's lovely owning cats, but their hair goes everywhere. Now, if you see, it's a heavy pull through if I try to lift up. So what I'm going to do is I start on the top, push down, take it out, and keep taking it out, so that all you have to do is push down rather than having to try to pull up, because then you're fighting gravity and the clay. Now, if I wasn't stubborn, you can roll it out thicker and then roll it through again so that it's thinner. Can you see I just brought the clay out the front? So let's see, can I turn this on its side? There we go. Can you see the clay is now sitting flat rather than concertina in? Whoops, sorry about that loud noise. Now, where are we? Like that. But I know a lot of people can spend a lot of money on their pasta machine. This is a £10 one I got off of eBay, and I haven't replaced it since I started claying, what are we, 3 years now? And I know actual machines that are designed specifically for polymer clay, some of them can go up into the hundreds, not even hundreds with an S. And they do have good features. They have wider rollers, they have a longer drop and all that sort of stuff, but I find you can work around it, and that's a lot of tens to be paying for a wider roller and a lot of drop. So I've got a nice big sheet. Let's get this out the way. We are not going to be using all that, but it's better to have too much than too little. So what I tend to like to work with when I'm dealing with thin sheets of clay is big bits of greaseproof paper, and you don't just have to use them for one project. If you wipe them down with some sturdy kitchen roll, you can reuse them. I've actually found it's easier to wipe them down once they've been baked, so you're wiping baked clay off them, than wiping down raw, but you can do both. And I've used my bits of paper 2 or 3 times at least, and then once they're too grubby to use, I often use them in the centre of tinfoil balls, so you don't have to chuck away, you don't have to be wasteful. There's always a reuse. So I'm going to start. It's a bit of a dealer's choice whether you want to do top or skirt. I tend to find it's easier to do the top and then do the skirt, because you can then handle the arms and just keep away from the body. If you do the skirt and then try and do the top, you're tempted to start trying to hold the legs or not look what you're doing and catch the back of it. Where the top's going to be very close to the body, it's less likely to get caught. So how I start with my basque tops. Now I'll show you the kind of top that I'm going to do that I did on the previous one. Can you see it's a very pointed basque, and at the back you can't really see with her hair. Sorry. See, very pointed at the bottom, and there's a panel of colour in the middle. So how I do that is I start out with the back strap of black around the base. So what I'm going to use for that is this little scrappy bit where there's a tear. So let's take that off, and that's my clay to work with at the moment. So I'm going to little bit of spare paper, so I'm not going to have that around me to cause trouble. Now the two things that I use a lot when doing clothes, yes, you're going to need your straight edge tissue blade, but you're really going to need a decent craft knife as well to get some of those bends in. So we're going to look at how wide we want that panel. Probably about, that looks about right to me. So that top line. Obviously we're not going to need all of that. So what I'm going to do is cut off these scraggly ends, so I've got an easier to work with bit of clay. Like that. It took me ages to work it out the first time I did it, because it was the first time I did it. And I've only actually done this once before. So holding that under the armpit, I'm not sure if you can see, so we're going like that. You can see that that bit of clay is slightly too long for me, so I'm just going to cut another little line off because I want it to sit just above the belly button. And the good thing about being able to trim it before you set it is that you can take off the lines that aren't straight, whichever one you've cut, top or bottom. So that'll do it for me. Right, ooh, you're coming up, there we go. Now I'm going to put that black bit, it's going to go under her chest diagonally like that and round under her armpits, and I'm going to smudge it so that it's holding. Once I've got it stuck in I will show you, but give me a second. So at the spine there I'm going to cut that off, and this is why you need to have baked it first, is so that you're not messing with your actual clay of the body. Right, like that. Now I don't need to be that neat with the clay around near the breast because I'm going to put a gold panel over the top, but what I do need to do is sort out that crack just there. Can you see? So I'm just going to get just in there, that crack.
Oh, I see. Yeah. In the black.
In the black. So I'm just bringing that bit over.
Can you go forward a bit?
And just using my ball tool just to smooth it out, and use my blade to push the clay.
See your camera down in front of
Sorry.
fact that you're
Yeah,
quite
I'm sorry. I'm got to see what I'm doing as well as show you guys. So there you go. I'm just shaping that bottom line under there, and I'm gonna cut out that little top point because I know I'm not going to need that. Right, there we go, like that. Scrape it off there. Right, so we've got one of the side panels in, and we're going to have to repeat that on the other side. So rolling around under the boob like that, facing kind of diagonally out. We're gonna sort out that shape in a bit, but sorry, I just got to get this in place so I can see. Down a bit. There we are. Right, that's in. Now I can go under the arm, not above, that way. It is fiddly doing dressing, I'm the first to admit it. So like this, there we go. Once I've got it kind of lined up, then I can fiddle with it. Back there. Cut that, because I'm going to put some, well, it's going to be a stick of a very thin strand of clay, but it's going to look like lace at the back. But I want that nice diagonal down, and then I've got to flatten out this bottom and that wrinkle. And the good thing about clay, even if you've lost it smooth, you can always smudge it so that it looks right, and then cut a straight line again. So like that. See? Now if I hadn't baked the black clay, not the black clay, the brown clay, that would have been impossible. Here we are. So, little bit of fixing up, and then I'll hold it up to the camera so you can all see. But I think there's going to be points where I'm going to have to make it so that I can see, but you guys can't, because I'm putting it on at that point. So, okay, can you see we've got a nice V. I might add some clay. Sorry, there we go. I think I'm going to add a little bit more clay in a line across there, just to get that nice diagonal down. Or you can just stretch what we got and just use your fingers to pull it down a bit.
Can you hold it forward so we can see?
Sorry, there we go. Can you see? I'm just getting my finger in there, just slightly moving it down so that I've got the same line as the other one did. Like that, bring that down. There we go. That looks more like it. I've just got to now shape up this front bit. There we are. Bring that forward. So the problem I find is you're going to be doing a lot of fiddling, and that is just the case with any complex project. So I could edit this around so that it doesn't look like I'm doing any of this, so that it just goes on perfect first time. But the reality is, most of the time you're going to spend claying is fixing up scruffy looking bits and unsymmetrical bits and that sort of stuff. So there we are. Right, that's roughly it. Let's get some gold on. and then I can always come back and replay with that a bit later, because it's not the line, it's not going to affect the gold. Right, how much of that was good English? I'm not sure. When you're concentrating on working and you're trying to explain also what you're doing, it's not easy. Right, I'm going to get some gold, and what I'm looking to do is, it's almost like a Y. So we're going to have, let's find a bit that you like the look of, and don't forget, if you think one side of your clay is looking a bit boring, turn it over and see what's going on that side. You may find something completely different that you really like. And again, you've got 2 panels as well, don't forget. So that's got a nice swirl in the middle of that. I'm going to use that. Let's put you out the way. Right, so we're looking for a Y shape. So that's sort of a neckline, like that. And I'm going to do a little straight and then up again. Now one side's a bit higher than the other, so we are going to bring that down to there. Now curve out, because you've got to have boob coverage, and then go down into a point. It's better to overestimate at this point on size and then cut it down than it is to underestimate and have to add clay onto the panel. So it's like a bit of a boxy heart shape. Yeah, whoop, like that. Now what we're going to do is, that's going to go in like that, and what you're trying to push it down onto is the black and under the chest. You don't want to really smudge it against the top side of the boob, because a neckline is quite loose to the top, but you want to get it quite symmetrical. So I'd say don't be rough with it. You're looking at little taps. Here we go, we're getting there, like this. Now I don't want it to chink up at that side like it's trying to do on both of them, so you may find you have to do a little bit of finagling. I'm sure that's not a technical word, but it's a word I use a lot, just to get it so that it's laying against the skin right. And once you've got that, you can then come in with some tools and just do some shaping, like pushing in to the crevices so that the top actually outlines the chest without any odd folds. So like this. Now I'm going to get my blade and take that back just a little, that point. I think I got too much there, so I'm going to go like that and like that. So what do you think so far? We're getting there, aren't we? Just going to tuck that under, it's sticking out a bit too much there, and I'm going to, can you see there's some scruffy edges there?
No, 'cause you're too
sorry, whoop, forward there, up by that top part of the heart around there.
Serrated.
It looks a bit serrated, so I'm just going to come in and smooth that out.
The ball tool would be better.
I find if you're trying to make a flat line, you're better with a flat tool. Trying to use a rounded one is liable to push the sides down and make it look like it's growing out of the skin rather than laying on top of it. If that makes sense. You can trim it, but I think I can just smooth that side off. There we go, that's better. Right, so we've got a top like that. Now, the other thing I'm thinking of doing is, where are we? I've got a box of crystals, like little, you know, the sequin type crystally dots. I'm trying to open them up the wrong way, that you get on like leotards and people in the Olympics and that sort of stuff. So little sparkly glass dots. I want to put one of them in the middle of where that V comes down. So there. What do you reckon? There? Or I'm not going to put it up there because I've got a necklace I'm going to make her. So I'm thinking, get this centered nicely and push that in like that. So already we've got a top embellishment and we've got the black going around the back. So now we need to do is arm straps, and I'm thinking I want to do that in black. So back to my, actually I've got some nice little bits here that I can use. Let's put her safely out of the way, because the last thing we want to do is get bits of random bits of black stuck to areas that we aren't expecting. And I'm going to make two little thin black straps, and again I know these already are going to be too long, and that's absolutely fine. That's what we want, is too long, because we need to put them in place and then cut them down, but you want them to be the same thickness. So once I've cut one, I'm cutting the other with the first one literally sat next to it. Can you see? So it looks like one long one. Now I do that because I hate measuring. If you want to be very, very accurate, then do measure. Right, I'm going to go for kind of off the shoulder. So I put a join there, go around like this, and I'm going to stick it to the top of that back panel like that, and then cut that extra off so it's in line. See? And make sure that it's stuck on properly. Now I know that looks a bit shoddy. I'm going to do something there, a little embellishment, but let's get them both on first. So again, whoop, just getting it to join to the top of that gold panel, and we want it going out a bit loose, and then round to the back and join it in. Whoop. So like this, but I've got to make it so that it's sitting properly. Here we go. Bit of a overhang there. I thought I was cutting these too long, and it turns out that they're literally millimeters too long rather than a few centimetres, which is what I thought I was doing. So we've now got a top on at the back and some straps in. What I'm going to do is, with the gold, put the black to one side. I'm going to make 2 little gold balls just by taking off a tiny bit from a little bit of scrap, rolling them into balls. Let's see, make sure they're the same size, so cut them down if one's too big. So that's too big for the other one. There we go, that looks about right. Right, 2 tiny little balls, tiny, yeah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them just where that join is, like that. So then it takes a scruffy looking join and makes it look a little less dodgy. Yeah?
Looks like it's got
it's a
buttons.
good, yeah, so buttons or embellishments. And if you want, you can even take a pin tool and do a little swirl on it. So just do little stabs like that. There you go. Just
cool.
Texture it. So if it looks like something you think that a shop designer wouldn't leave a seam like that so prominent, stick something on it, make an embellishment. Yeah, so there we are. That's the top all done apart from the lacing. Now that lacing, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to be taking tiny bits of gold, like even smaller than what your, even smaller than, focus, thank you, what you took for that button. So really tiny bits, and we're going to use the desk and roll them into little sticks. You can try and do this with one long stick, but I tell you now, it's not easy to start making zigzags from it to do the lace up. So I find it's easier to make tiny little crosses and then stick the tiny little crosses in, or the tiny little sticks in, than it is to try and do it all with one bit of lace. Does that make sense? No? Not yet? I'll show you.
Sorry, I'm spacing out again.
Right, hubby's half asleep. So we're going for tiny little sticks. I'm going to cut it so that the ends are neat, like that. Now get these endy bits, screw them up, put them to one side. Now we're going to need my ball tool. Where did I put it? There it is. It rolled off, that's why I can't find it. I'm going to use that to pick it up and start to join one side on one. I've got tin foil sliding off. Can you see it? I'm taking it and adding it so that it sticks to either side of the top, like that, and then come in with the next one.
It's mesmerizing watching you do.
Push that in so you can see little crosses, and that's what I'm aiming to do. You can, if you're doing on neat ones, tuck it the longer bits under, but can you see it's harder to do? So I tend to, or you can trim it in place like that.
Fairy Hedgehog says so detailed.
Well, if you're going to do it, you might as well put all the detail in. The first human I made really did not have all this detail. That's why I did a mermaid because there was not all the clothing. So I could get away with really the only detail went in on the tail and the face. But I think I should actually do a bit better than that. So we got the second, we got the second cross in there.
Zoomed in a bit, I can zoom out again.
I think one more, and then that'll do that top fine. Now it's up to you whether you want to put a bow in at the top. I've found they have in the past snapped off because they're so small thin bits of clay and it's sticking out beyond the body. It's a real risk you're taking with it. So it depends on what you're going to do with it. If it's going to go in a shop that does mail delivery, you might want to think about not putting a bow in. If it's going straight onto your mantelpiece once it's been baked, then you can put even more fiddly details like that. But I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to stay with these gold crosses. So we have a topping. What do you reckon? Yeah?
Looks really good.
So clear up all these scrappy bits of gold like that. Let's move that out of the way. Take a drink and we're on to a skirt. Now, before you get going on skirts, you can do shoes. It depends on how short you're going to do the skirt. If you're doing one that's going all the way down to the ankles, you want to do the shoes before that. I think I'm going to go for a skirt that is probably knee length. So again, I'm going to lean her on her hands. Make sure that my hands are clean because I've been doing a lot of fiddly gold bits and I think I got some gold smudgy fingers. There we go, that's them gone. Right, we're back to the black now. So this little bit might actually be long enough for what I want. If anything, it might even be a bit too long. So I think I'm going to take it to a shorter skirt. Let's get this scrappy bit off first, like that. So I'm going to take it to an even shorter length, like that. And I am going to take off these scrappy edge bits. So I'm starting with a rectangle. Now, again, it depends on what kind of skirt you want. I want to do a wraparound where you've got a bit of leg showing. That even might still be too long, I think. Yeah, we're down to 3/4 length when I was going for knee length. And you can see what I mean about keeping clean, how you can end up very easily with bits like that stuck onto your smooth clay, and what was a smooth thing then ends up looking bobbly, which ain't great. So let's go a little thinner. There we go. She's in short skirt. Now this is going to be too much clay, but that's fine. I'm starting at the hip because I want to do a split in it. So like that. And I'm going to bring this skirt round and just tuck it over the hips. Now because the waist is narrower than the rest of the skirt, you're going to need to use your thumbs to get rid of that big. Can you see there's a pocket? Whoop. There, that's a better angle. Can you see that? You really need to use your thumb and your finger just to gently tap it so that it starts to fold into that gap like that. Then once I've got it where I want it, which is about here, I'm going to cut off the excess at this point. It's probably there. So again, that's why it's good to have your X-Acto blade, which is the kind of craft knife I use. Right, getting there. It's still not laying perfect, but we are definitely on the right track. So I'm tapping around and really focusing on the waist. I'm not so bothered with how the bottom of the skirt's laying. Oh, sorry. Just tapping it in. Bring this up like that. And I'm going to put another embellishment on the skirt so that it has a button there. But I'm wondering about putting a little bit of a gold trim around the bottom. So what I was thinking, you can either add it on with clay, or I'm going to go around, I think, and get some mica powder and just dust on a little bit around the bottom of that. So we got this far. Yeah. And I'm going to put a bit of gold mica on the bottom, but I will do that off camera because it's literally dusting powder on. And the thing about mica powder, where it's a metal dust, you end up with, it's like airborne glitter. So I have to do it with a mask on, and it really does mess with the camera. So yeah, I would say it's probably going to be easier to do that bit off camera. Now, one thing I would say, I've seen a lot of people using mica powder online and they've not got any breathing mask on. I know you're not using a lot of it, but it is still a mineral powder. You need to put on a dust mask.
Hedgehog says, I bet the mask
and
messes with the sound too.
Yeah, I mumble along. And the other thing is, what I suggest is you can get something called vanilla powder, and I put a small tiny pinch of that into my mica powder, so if there's a lot in the air, you can smell it. Right, so let's put this so that it's lining up where I want. Whoop. Oop. Dang it. Like this. There we are. So yeah.
Does the vanilla powder change
the vanilla powder, you're putting in a tiny pinch for a whole pot. So it shouldn't change how your mica powder goes on.
How does it go through the oven?
It goes through the oven fine. I've never noticed it as an issue, but it's good. Sometimes I've not noticed how much mica powder I'm kicking up until someone comes in and goes, this room smells really like cream soda, and I'm like, okay, open windows. It's just another added thing, and you can do anything. You could put a tiny drop of perfume or anything like that, but just so that you're more aware if you've got a lot of it flying around. So we're this far with the dress, well, with the outfit. I'm going to go around with a paintbrush and tiny add on round the bottom there a little bit of gold mica. So I reckon she needs baking at this stage, and then I come back and I'm going to work on shoes and jewellery. I'm probably going to put on an armband.
Can you hold it close to the camera?
So,
Terry Hedgehog says that's amazing.
Here we go. Let's give you final look. Here we go. Round the back.
Really detailed. That's amazing.
Round
Features
here.
And hands and hair.
Yep. The hands and hair are going to happen. But they are going to be future ones. And I'm thinking for hair, I might do more of a dreadlock look rather than plaits, because I think trying to plait clay that small is going to actually be a nightmare. I could do more of an afro. I think I need to Google around and have a look at some hairstyles on Google and see what's what out there. But it's very, very quick when you start going with skirts and basque type tops. If you were doing a top where you've got sleeves, it's harder. I tend to, when I'm dealing with sleeves, I will add the sleeve in, so I will coat the arm, and then I put in a front panel of a top, a back panel of a top, and then start to smudge in any of the join lines. But it's trickier. The longer the skirt, again, the harder it is to get it to lay right. So there's something to be said for making a scantily clad goth type girl. And I know she's wearing no makeup, that's the other thing. When I get to the stage of varnishing her, I'm going to be mixing mica powder and what are they called? Pastel. So the chalk pastels in with varnish and doing eyeshadow and blusher in that way.
I do like this. I love the way you used a matching jewel on the skirt.
Yeah, well, you know, you've got to tie in your fashion. That's a joke if you ever knew me. I mean, I am not the girliest girl. I think I've got 6 pairs of shoes, not including slippers, but I am including my wellies in that. I mean, really, I don't think I've ever had a handbag match my outfit yet, but there we go. So yeah, having little pots of things like crystals around, it can be very, very useful. And for instance, I've got jewellery options with her. Even though she's small, I've got a tiny, can you see? That is actually a bit of opal.
That's so hard to focus.
Would it help if I...
Got it the same height. Thank you.
Yeah, can you see it's a tiny bit of opal, which is what I'm probably going to use as a necklace. Or I have tiny stars that are some sort of semi-precious stone that's a kind of cobalt colour, or even tinier little hearts. So with all this, I can do a range of things like necklaces and embellishments on bracelets. The other thing you can do is get bigger pieces like little charms and bits of jewellery and use wire cutters to cut them down smaller, just sort of cut out a curl and that sort of thing. So when you get into clay, you end up becoming a magpie, but it's good to remember what your magpie stash is, because it can be easy to build up stuff, forget you've got it and never use it, whereas just these little embellishments alone make all the difference. That's all I'm saying. That's my excuse for collecting all sorts. And one of these days, I wonder if I can turn the face camera to show you this. No?
That'll be upside down.
That'll be upside down. What about this one?
Yeah.
Right, let's see if I can show you my work desk. Whoop. Wires tight. I have...
Got to keep it the right way.
Ooh, that way up. Tight wire.
Release the wire.
Let's release the wire so I can show you my boxes and boxes of stuff. Don't worry. All the tools. So lots and lots and lots of tools all around here. And then I've got, this is all drawers of clay. And on this side is my magpie boxes. Can you see? We've got crystals and beads and bits and stones and bobs. It's useful having that kind of thing. And then shelves
You have to
and shelves
pull it back quite a way
of
to get.
bits, and there are several of those. So
That's a bit.
yeah, and I'm only doing one craft. There are so many people. Sorry, you're getting microphone. You're getting real behind the scenes look here. So my desk looks lovely and tidy until you go sideways and go, okay, there's a lot of tools there. I only do one craft. I know people who literally do like 5-10 different crafts. I don't get how they can keep all the tools anywhere. This has filled a room. So yeah, much love to those multi-crafters who must have houses like TARDISes. That's all I can say. Do let me see how your human creating is going on, and if you've got any questions. I always love to get involved with other people's work. Like me, follow me, all that good stuff online. And I won't see you next week. Have an awesome Christmas and New Year. I will do my best to come and see you. I promise I won't be hungover because I don't drink alcohol. So you haven't got that worry for us. I know, me and my husband, neither of us teetotal. And it's not even religious reasons. It just literally makes us both very unwell. And not in a, I get really ill when I've had 30 pints as well, sort of unwell. I mean, like, one shot of whiskey and I'm having severe abdominal cramps, sort of. So, you ain't got us being very hangover as a worry, but I might be very sleepy because I've done a lot. Either way, wonderful Christmas. Hope Santa comes and brings you everything that you want, and some of your neighbours' presents too, because extra presents. Anyway, yeah, happy Christmas, happy New Year. I'll see you on the 1st. Bye.